I wanted to talk to you about Dr. Watley. I have a suspicion that he's converted to Judaism purely for the jokes.
And this offends you as a Jewish person?
No, it offends me as a comedian.
A lot of the jokes have to do with separation, they have to do with chosenness, they have to do with distinctness, and they also have to do with loss.
Let's not forget, Jesus was Jewish, which makes sense because he really loved his mother.
If I was standing on line naked for the gas chambers, would I hold my stomach in?
My Nana was a survivor of the Holocaust. Thank God she was at one of the better concentration camps. She had a vanity number. It said, bedazzled.
Comics have to tell us who we are, where we are, even if it's in bad taste.
The definition of a Jewish joke is something that the Gentiles have.
Excuse me. Our dance, Your Highness?
With whom shall I be dancing?
With one who is truly fond of you and who worships you very much.
Maximilian, it doesn't seem possible, but that is Corkhead.
Don't be silly, Mother. That's a much older man.
it true, Princess, that you came here to find a husband?
Let's talk about you. Haven't we met before?
You and I met before? Oh, I doubt it. I don't think so. Yes, we have. Well, I can't lie to you, Princess. We have met before, but, well, I'm not a duke or a duchy. I mean, any of those things like that. As a matter of fact, I'm a phony. Even the clothes I'm wearing aren't mine. I didn't even work to get this gray hair. And, well, I don't like a phony, and I don't think you should be stuck with one.
I don't understand, but I'm sure we'll get along.
Well, I think I'll have to get along. That's my cue.
What do you mean? What do you mean, your cue?
Well, what I'm trying to say is that, the fish will turn into the car that was the chauffeur's, the fish that was my bike.
What?
Well, I can't explain, but I want to thank you very much for the dance. I'll never forget it, and I'll never forget you.
Come back. Oh, please come back.
Well, he's in considerable demand for any occasion when people really and truly want to laugh. I refer you now to the one and only, the master storyteller, Myron Cohen.
Thank you, my dear. You know, since this is the Thanksgiving season, and I always like to associate that kind of season with little ones, tonight is as appropriate as any to tell about just the lovely little ones you might have at home. For example, this adorable little 8-year-old girl, quite like one you might have in your very own heart, walked into a bakery shop and said to the baker, "My mommy found a fly in the raisin bread." He says, "So bring back the fly, I'll give you a raisin." And you know, cute little 6-year-old boy walked into the grocery and said, "Mommy wants change of $1." He gave him change of $1. The little fellow was on the way out. The grocer called to him. He said, "Just a minute, son. Where's the $1?" So she give it to you Monday. And you know, since truth is so much stranger than fiction, imagine a man who found it possible for 25 years of his life to arrive for work every morning at 9 o'clock. Just as the good Lord made the day he walked in for his work at 9 in the morning, you could set your watch by his appearance. And suddenly one morning, after all these 25 years of punctual 9 o'clock appearances, he walked in at 10. Big lump on his head, 2 black eyes, bloody nose, ear hanging, lip torn, clothes ripped and disheveled. Boss says, "What happened to you?" He says, "Oh, I fell down an old flight stairs, almost got killed." The boss says, "So this took an hour?" You know, I had a boss like that once. But speaking of falling down, I want you to hear about a man who's been drinking very heavily. This man is loaded, blind, fractured. There is a word that will accurately describe his condition. It may be found in the new issue of the unabridged Funk and Wagnall's dictionary. He was fablonget. It's a French derivative which will be found under either F or B, I'm not sure. But in this drunken stupor, he walked into an empty elevator shaft. He fell 10 floors. Now, that'll happen to some of us on occasion. Picked himself up, brushed himself off, and said, "I guess I should have said up." But you know, idle conversation always gives me a big kick. The other day, I was standing about 2 or 3 feet from 2 young men who were in conversation, and one said to the other, "Where did you was this past winter?" Says, "I was in Palm Springs." Says, "You was where?" He says, "Palm Springs." So what is it? You don't talk of good angles? It's not Palm Springs, it's Palm Springs. Says, you know, you're right. I had it confused with Palm Beach. And you know, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you, please, for a moment to imagine, if you will, Christmas in California. Christmas in California. What could be lovelier under normal weather conditions than Christmas in California? A native New Yorker walking on a Wilshire Boulevard meets a native Californian. And if you know native Californians, you know how very, very proud they are of their home state. The Californian, drawing himself up to his full height, says to the New Yorker, "How do you like my California?" He answers, typically New York, "Yeah." Says, "You don't like it?" "What's the matter? You don't sound enthused." Says, "So what is to be enthused? It's California." Says, "You're not enjoying here?" So I'll tell you the truth. If I would be home in New York now, we'll be enjoying better. Says, "Why? What will you be doing?" Says, "I will be packing to go to Florida." Of course, when you tell it in California, you can switch it to suit yourselves. And ladies and gentlemen, the mention of California reminds me that in April, just before I left Florida to come up north, I was in a drugstore on Lower Washington Avenue in Miami Beach, the Deep South. Little fellow came in, sat down alongside of me at the soda fountain, and I heard him say to the soda clerk, "Today, if y'all be so kindly, Dalton," you know, it's the Deep South. He says, "I feel like Debbie shall make me a pineapple banana peach melody." Says, "Y'all put me in a special glass. On the bottom, you stick me some pineapple. Nachher, you'll give me some vanilla ice cream. Nachher." I must explain, that's a southern delicacy, like corn pone, nachher, covered with yams. Said, "Then you'll cut mother panini. On top of this, some chocolate ice cream. Then in honor of the Hounds Bowl game, you give me a piece of Hounds. Not the stickel tangerine will do. Then you give me some crushed nuts. Then some whipped cream. A few chocolate sprinkles. And on the top there, if y'all be so kind, you stick me what I call a cherry, like they said." And the clerk says, "I got y'all, mister. Maybe y'all got time to come in Monday for our fitting?" And folks, you're very kind, but you know, I like to think a great many of the young men throughout the country have a right to know that while they were away in the last war, a great many very strange but very interesting and humorous incidents occurred. For example, when the American army occupied Rome, I then told a story of a little Italian-American soldier boy who had been given a pass for the weekend. Since in civilian life he'd been a lover of the finer arts, as most Italian families are. It occurred to him it might be wise to visit some of the very beautiful palaces his mother had told him about. Now he came upon 3 statues he couldn't quite understand. The first statue looked like this, the second like that, and the third like that. So he walked up to the Italian caretaker and says, "Would you be kind enough, sir, to tell me what those 3 statues represent?" And the kindly little old Italian man said, "I'll be very happy to tell you what that means. I'll explain it for you." He said, "The first statue," she said, "who spit on the floor?" "He did it." "Who, me?"
Killing me that these phonies eat it all up. Not you, the others. Holy shit.
Rabbi.
I couldn't cancel Neil Diamond. What the hell does he get Neil Diamond to play at a bar mitzvah?
Neil Diamond!
Hi, Rose. Mom says hi.
Oh, you know him? I know his mother. I used to play canasta with her. Say Spilkus. Spilkus.
Benjamin Mazel Tov, we're proud of you.
Well, let's go.
Sit down, you traitor.
Nagila Nagila Hava, Nagila Hava, Nagila Nislucha.
Never liked this song.
The 2,000-Year-Old Man happened in the first year of the show of shows. First time we did the 2,000-Year-Old Man was in Max Lieben's office in 1950, sitting on the couch. I had come in from seeing We the People Speak with Dan Seymour, which was a television show. And on the television show, a man says, I was actually in Stalin's toilet, and I heard Stalin say, we're going to blow up the world Thursday. I said, this is the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. If it's true, tell America. Don't tell America, tell the president. So I came in that day incensed that what I heard on the air was obviously a made-up thing, and I said, here's a man who was actually at the scene of the crucifixion 2,000 years ago. Isn't that true, sir? Using head of J. Walter Thompson, Dan Seymour. I used his voice, and Mel answered, and the 2,000-Year-Old Man was born that moment.
But at first, the 2,000-Year-Old Man had been a hit only with their friends.
From 1950 to 1960, we never did it any place but at parties because the Jewish accent, remember, the war had been over for 5 years. 1950, it's 5 years ago that Hitler was using everything to denigrate Jews. Now, we were going to denigrate ourselves by making fun of our own accent. Jews will understand the Jewish accent. So we never did it any place but for friends. We worried whether the Goyim in the world would understand. Anyway, Cary Grant used to come by every day and he said, oh, I'd like a couple of those albums. They're wonderful. I gave him the first one. Then he used to he'd schnorr a dozen. And one day he said to me, can I get another dozen? I'm going to England. So he came back and he said, I went to the palace. She loved it. I said, who? He says, the Queen. She roared. I said, she loved it? He says, yes, of course. I said, my God, the biggest chicks in the world gave our stamp of approval. We're in. The onus of being, making fun of the Jewish accent was gone.
Wonderful thrill to be here with Dean Martin on his show. Dean Martin has been a friend of many, many years. Dean, I say this from my heart, really. I've never liked you. Never. I mean, where's a man going with glass of milk, huh, Pat? I want to wish you prickly heat all over your stomach. Pat Boone, one of our great stars, right? As a daytime show, marvelous. The way he comes out, hi, I'm Pat Boone. What do you want, a cookie? Making a fool of yourself. You're going nowhere, Pat. I'm a friend. The pimples, you still think it comes from Hershey's, huh? Now, I kid around about people. I got a reputation. Ricardo Montalban, a good friend. You know this. I got a reputation of being, like Newsweek said, the merchant of venom, destroys stars. You people in the back, this is not true. I love people, really. Ricardo, why do I kid you? Why? Because I don't like you.
I don't care how great you are. This is true in every field. No matter how great you are, not everybody's going to like you. Like, take a look at this guy. Here's a guy. To this girl, he's a sensation. I'm looking at the same guy. Don't take it personally. It's not your fault. Wait a second. In your case, I think it is. It's just that different people have a different point of view about the same thing.
They're used to making fun of themselves because they want to distract the soldiers from beating them, you understand? So they would try to make them laugh. And, that's the laughter is the great healer of everything. If you can make another person laugh, the battle is half won.
Because my mother had two of us at home that weren't, as the expression goes, moving. And I... Don't ask. I'm from a little town called Larchmont, where if you're not married, if you're a girl, and you're over 21, you're better off dead. It's that simple, you know? And I was the last girl in Larchmont. Do you know how that feels? Sitting around my mother's house, 21, 22, 24, having a good time, living, eating candy bars, enjoying myself, but single. And the neighbors would come over and they'd say to my mother, "How's Joan? Still not married?" And my mother would say, "If she were alive." You know how that hurts? When you're sitting right there? When I was 21, my mother said, "Only a doctor for you." When I was 22, she said, "All right, a lawyer, CPA." 24, she said, "We'll grab a dentist." 26, she said, "Anything." If he could make it to the door, he was mine, you know? What do you mean you don't like him? He's intelligent, he found the bell himself. What do you want? Anybody that came to my house was it. "Oh, Joan, there's the most attractive young man down here with a mask and a gun." Anything that showed
The best way to get an audience on your side, and most comedians know it, is to make fun of yourself. Basically, if you paint yourself as a schmuck, the audience loves you. So a Jewish joke, it's usually making fun of ourselves.
I'll tell you my trouble. Got the wrong doctor. You know my doctor, Dr. Vinnie Boombas. Know my doctor? And I saw him last week. I told him, "Doc, every day I wake up, I look in the mirror, I want to throw up. What's wrong with me?" He said, "I don't know, but your eyesight is perfect." Are you kidding? Are you kidding? I know I'm ugly. I asked the bartender to make me a zombie. Told me God beat him to it. Well, I'll tell you no when you're ugly, all right? Well, Halloween, my wife sends the kids out dressed like me. I mean, I'll tell you the whole story, all right? The whole story, okay? All right. I mean, you know when you're ugly. Well, last Halloween, a kid tried to pull my face off. And my kids, they flip a coin to see who has to kiss me goodnight. And I was an ugly kid, too. I told my old man, never took me to the zoo. He said, "If they want you, they'll come and get you." Well, that's the story of my life. No respect. I don't get no respect. No respect at all. Are you kidding? Well, I was drowning. I was yelling, "Help, help." And the lifeguard ran over. Said, "All right, buddy, keep it down. Keep it down." I don't get no respect from anyone. Well, I called up suicide prevention. They tried to talk me into it.
I'm going to play a Viennese waltz by a Viennese composer, Giesener. When you hear this, that is the introduction to the waltz. Then when you hear this, that is the main theme of the waltz. Then when you hear this, then there is definitely something wrong. Because that's Chopin.
Shall we get started? I'll stand right over here, huh? All right. All right. Tune up. Tune up. Huh?
Tune up?
Yeah, go right ahead.
I meant you.
Oh, oh, me, I see.
Take my wife, please.
Is there anything left? What more could you want?
Well, all I want is an audience with an audience like you. I want to hear you laugh and applaud the things I do. Go on and call me a ham. I don't give a damn. I'm confessing that it's true. All I want is an audience with an audience like you.
By the 1950s, Jewish comedians were dominating the new medium of television. Many of them, like Sid Caesar, had once played the Borscht Belt, where they honed their routines on strictly Jewish audiences. Now, they broadened their humor to appeal to everyone.
And now the most horrible thing that can happen to our house is on its way. His mother is coming to visit. King Kong with an overnight bag. How can I describe her? Jello with a belt. When the old bat sits down and takes the whole mess 5 minutes to settle. When she takes her girdle off, her feet disappear. Putting a girdle on her is like putting a Band-Aid on a guy who had his head cut off.
I know you're nervous, but your show is going to be great.
It's a pitch. It's called a pitch, Mom.
Whoa, what are you
What?
doing to me? What are you
Mr. Brewster?
Yes, hi there.
Hi there, they're ready for you.
Oh, fantastic. Great, good. Whoa. No, what are you doing?
Playing with you.
You bring my mother in, it'll look crazy.
I don't know I'm your mother, honey.
That's even weirder. Then who are you?
Do you need a minute?
No, I'm good.
it's
Thank
okay.
you. I'm okay. Great.
He's
What
ready.
Do you do? Please. Thank you. Hi. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great.
Good luck, sweetheart.
Thank you, ma'am. Nice to meet you.
Movie. How come you don't have your shoes? But I'm cold. And if I'm cold, you have to be cold. So I'm just putting it around very gently.
Bobby, it's okay.
Around very gently.
Very gentle.
Very gently.
Thank you.
Is that okay?
It's really good.
Are you sure? All right, if it doesn't, you'll tell me.
I will tell you.
And if you take it off, I'll spank your... I had one little multi-grader.
Oh my God, those are cool.
Did you just pull those out of your pocket?
I am not taking it. It's huge.
Which one do you want? Take your choice.
Which one? I will take the cracker over the vitamin.
Vitamins? Well, then you won't go as fat as I am the next. Yes, you will. You're older than I am.
Yeah, I'm tired, you guys. I'm too tired for this.
Okay, she is. Because you gotta get some rest. 4.5 hours to start.
We knew we're not working for Jews. We're working for an amalgam of races and religions. And so we had to translate something that might have been Jewish and make it universal.
Wat kan uit de kleine wat er uit is. Grijpen we uit de kleine wat er uit is. Letzte Augen.
Ja, mein General, ja, ja.
Das gefielte Rauch ist hier. Was heißt was dann schwester Splendor hier? Ja. Das macht lieber tun als ihr. Das Mannegül ist geschmutzig.
In Yiddish words we use, but we were very responsible. If a Yiddish word would get a laugh from people in the audience and somebody said, what are they laughing at? There would be a joke or a physical action. We were very careful about that, not to just contact our friends and say, here, we're making you laugh, nobody else. Every time there was a Jewish laugh, there was something covering it that people would laugh.
Tunic button, so, tunic machen,
No, ZAYT NISCHT MESUGE. Laws im Gain! Kappa walk, it's all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be gesinnt. Take off. Hast du gesehen in deinem Leben? They darker than us. Woof!
Okay, years ago, the movie Blazing Saddles came out in the 70s. I really didn't know who Mel Brooks was, and everybody kept raving about the movie, Blazing Saddles. You got to see it. Well, by the time I got to see it, it was already playing way from the neighborhood I lived in, miles away. In
Sterling
fact,
Heights.
It was in a total Gentile neighborhood. So, but I still went and saw the movie. And I sat there, and there's a scene in there where Mel Brooks, the Indian chief, comes upon a wagon train of all black, male and female children, all blacks, and he says, "Oi, Schwarzes, oi, Bissel Meshuggah," he says, "Wasn't game," and I laugh. I'm the only one laughing in the whole show. Well, when the movie was over, some guy sitting on the end of the aisle, I'm coming up the aisle, he apparently saw me laughing and grabbed my shirt. "Excuse me, mister," he says, you speak Indian. What was the Indian saying that was so funny? One or the other. That's that really happened.
Why Jewish men die first? Because they want to.
All my wives have been Jewish and drive me crazy, man.
Yeah, she ain't got nothing better to do.
Well, you were the one who couldn't get the seatbelt.
Why would she film? Who's going to watch this?
What happened was...
My teacher.
Your teacher? Your teacher needs a job. He's going to watch this.
It turned out after he was done.
This is exactly what I would call entertainment. You want some real entertainment? Come later in the night. So after he's done drinking.
I got one.
Now I'd like to say a few words. Hello? I must be going. I cannot stay. I came to say I must be going. I'm glad I came, but just the same I must be going. La la.
For my sake you must stay. If you should go away, you spoil this party I am throwing.
I'll stay a week or two. I'll stay the summer through. But I am telling you, I must be going.
Laughing already. I shouldn't do this one. Okay. Oh, sorry.
So did you hear about the dyslexic rabbi? We thought he was such a great rabbi. He was always getting to know the youth. He was so cool. He's going, yo, yo, yo. Turns out, oi.
One thing you should understand is I have a new roommate. Her name is Kathy. Now, it's not what you think. We're just roommates. So Mr. Schwartz comes, brings a lovely bottle of wine. They have a very nice dinner, and she's wondering what's going on between these people. The evening goes well. She goes home, and after she goes, Kathy says to David, David, that wine was very nice that your mother brought, but I can't find the corkscrew. Well, I don't think my mother took the corkscrew. Well, look, I'm not saying she did, I'm not saying she didn't. So David sends his mother an email, Dear Ma, now, dinner was lovely, the wine was great. Now, I'm not saying you took the corkscrew, but I'm not saying you didn't take the corkscrew, but we can't find it. Can you please get back to me? Mr. Schwartz writes back, Dear David, it was a lovely dinner. It was very nice to meet your roommate. Now, I'm not saying you're sleeping with your roommate. I'm not saying you're not. But if she was sleeping in her own bed, she would have found the corkscrew.
My mother knitted me 2 sweaters for Hanukkah. To tell you the truth, I didn't like either of them. But I didn't want to hurt her feelings, so I decided to wear one of them down to breakfast the next day. So when I came down, my mother took one look at me, and instead of a smile, she said, What's the matter? You didn't like the other one?
You can bury your wife here for $150. She'll have a nice funeral. Or I can ship the body home for $5,000. He thinks and he says, you know what? I'm going to ship her home for $5,000. Long ago, a man died here in Jerusalem, and 3 days later, he came back. I'm not taking any chances.
So the plane is landing in Tel Aviv. Taxi's up to the terminal building, and as the plane pulls up to the terminal, the announcement comes on that everybody knows. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the captain speaking. We're now arriving in Tel Aviv. Please remain in your seats with your seatbelts firmly fastened until the aircraft has come to a complete and final stop at the terminal building. And for those of you standing in the aisles, Happy Hanukkah. And to those in your seats, Merry Christmas.
A friend of his runs a costume rental agency, and he goes to see what he can get. And he says to the owner, "Nu, what do you got it?" And the owner says, "Goldstein, for you, I got it the costume, make you look like D'Artagnan." He says, "Who?" "D'Artagnan, von the Drei Musketeers." He says, "What do I get?" He says, "Well, we start with a broad brim hat with a big feather. We got a silk shirt with mother from Poil buttons. We got balloon silk trousers. Here, I take a measurement. Oh, I see you got a wooden leg. Nobody should know. We got it white silk stockings, black leather shoes with a big buckle, and to hang from your belt, a sword." He says, "How much?" $50. He says, "Too much. You got something cheaper?" He says, "Well, for $20, we got a tiny hat with a little feather, a white cotton shirt with plastic buttons, balloon cotton trousers for your wooden leg, we got white cotton stockings, black patent leather shoes with a tiny buckle, and to hang from your belt, a dagger." And Goldstein thinks about it. He says, "Nah, it's too much." So the clerk says, "All right, for $3, you go to a hardware store. You buy a can of red paint, you paint your face and your body red. And then for $3 more, you go to a grocery store, you buy a can of molasses. You take the molasses, you pour it over your head, you take your wooden leg, you shove it up your ass, and you go as a taffy apple."
Mrs. Cohn goes into Ashley's. She wants to buy some china, and the person comes up to serve her and asks her what she'd like, and she says, "I want your finest china. I want the best china you have. I want 12 dinner plates. I want 12 soup plates. I want 12 side plates. I want 12 dessert plates. I want everything, all of the matching pieces that go with this set. So he brings her forward and he shows her the beautiful china that he has. And she says, and one more thing, I want on the bottom of the plates, it should say Cohen. He says to her, I'm sorry, we really can't do that. She says, why not? You did it for Mrs. Rosenthal.
So Abe comes back from shul and he's got a black eye. And his wife Sarah says, Abe, what's going on? You go to shul and you come back with a black eye? He says, Sarah, it's like this. He says, I'm sitting in my regular seat. Mr. Schlapperbursky sitting in front of me. And at one point, I opened the wrong Kodesh. Everybody stood up. And I noticed that Mrs. Schlapperbursky's dress was tucked a little bit into her tuchus. So I took it out. She turned around, she socked me one in the eye. Don't worry, Sarah says, it was a mitzvah, it won't happen again. The next week he goes to shul and he comes back and his other eye is black and blue. She says, Sarah says, what's going on? Last week a black eye, this week a black eye. He says, Sarah, I'm sitting in my regular seat, Mr. Cohen's next to me, Mr. Schnapperbursky's in front of us. And at one point I opened our wrong Kodesh. And we noticed that Mrs. Schnapperbursky's dress was tucked in her tuchus. So A.B. Cohen took the dress out of the tuchus, and I knew she didn't want it out, so I pushed it back in.
Thank you, guys.
All right, that's all we got.
Even as a young kid, my mom used to take me to auctions. And I kind of got the bug very early about just buying cool stuff. And I remember one of the first big things I bought, we were at an auction in Jeffersonville. My mom left the room and she came back and I said, Mom, I bought that post office wall. And it was this old brass, you know, all the little boxes, and it went so cheap. She says, we can't even fit in the station wagon. I said, I gotta have it, it's just so cool. As it turned out, by the end of the night, I had 2 offers and I sold it for double the money. I said, you see, I took care of it. And from that moment on, I realized I could get things, but I could sell them. And I started collecting. What I really like are graphics, but I really got into signage. There's a big thing now about people collecting signs. So through the years, I've collected so much. You know, it started also when I was working as a plumber. We did have an advantage then of finding things under old buildings, under the bungalows. Some of the soda bottles were found there because people used to toss them underneath to get rid of them. The collection just grew. Then, when I became a building inspector in 1987, then I got to go into a lot more older buildings. And actually, I know a lot of historic pieces that were going to be buried because part of my job was to clean up thousands of old bungalows and hotels just in the town of Fallsburg, which I was the building inspector of. So I used to have to do a report for the town board, and I'd go in, I'd take pictures, and I'd show them the bad stuff. But in the course of those inspections, I found hotel items like keychains and things that were left behind, sometimes bigger items. I said, this is history. This has to be saved. And I just started collecting those items. Now, some of the items in my house in the collection, for instance, there's a theater seat over here. That theater seat was taken out of the theater that used to be in the village of Woodridge. It was called the Lyceum Theater. And the bank next door bought the theater because they needed parking. We saved about 30 chairs. And we put them in a building because we didn't have storage then. Unfortunately, they all got ruined for various reasons, but I said, I'm saving one of them. So that's an aisle seat, because it's got the two lights on either side. I reupholstered it. So that's the last remaining seat from the theater, and I have these two unbelievable Art Deco lights outside from the theater. So the collection has just grown. I have a huge postcard collection and brochures. You know, I have the switchboard from the Regal Hotel, which is extremely rare. I mean, I've got that slot machine in the front porch. It came from the Catskills, but I guarantee that sometimes they had to hide it when the feds would show up. I'm sure if that machine could tell some stories, it would have some great ones. But I think the signs are what's, to me, the most unique. I have telephones from the Pines Hotel, from the rooms. I didn't bother taking the furniture because I have limited space. I know if I had a huge barn or a warehouse, I would have had it filled up. Obviously, it's a piece of history. It's Catskill history, but it's also the 40s and the 50s. I just want to save this stuff for people to enjoy. On every road, there was a resort, whether it was a bungalow colony or a hotel. It was an unbelievable time period. If you have interest in preserving the Catskills, please make a donation to the Catskill Resort Museum. Help us out. I've got the pieces, but you all can't come to my house on a regular basis. We need to put it someplace, and the Resort Museum is a wonderful project.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, a double portion of laughter with Henrietta Jacobson and Julius Adler. What I'd like to say is, ladies and gentlemen...
Ma, hold her.
Pardon me.
Ma, hold her.
Miss, I beg your pardon. What's the matter?
I want to see Ma, hold her.
Well, I'm sorry. You see, there's a show going on.
That's all right. You don't bother me. Ma, hold her.
Pardon me, miss. Find a seat.
Okay.
Have you a seat?
Yeah, I got a seat, but I ain't got where to put it.
Look, if you don't behave yourself, I'll have to throw you out.
Now, look here. Don't be so fresh and don't be such a smart fella. Because how about that customer and einfach Kopf around?
Now, wait a minute. What do you want?
I want to see Al Murray.
I'm Al Murray.
You're Al Murray?
Yes.
Oh, isn't that lovely?
Come right up here.
Thank you.
Give me a hand and I'll help you.
Never mind. Da muss ich besser Gott helfen. So you're Al Murray?
Yes.
Oh, I heard about you. You're on the radio 4 times a week, huh?
That's right.
Oh, my brother raved about you.
You what?
He raved about you.
Thanks very much.
They took him away this morning. I like you.
That's fine.
You know, I'm lonesome.
You what?
I'm lonesome.
You mean lonesome?
I said lonesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very romantic.
You what?
I'm romantic.
You mean romantic?
Romantic.
Romantic?
Romantic is die de hand in de vies.
Really?
Heb je dacht hier aan?
No, I already have a wife.
Yeah, you know why?
Why?
Because ich will noch zum haben.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
I have a wife, but I also have a nice young man for you.
Yeah? Yeah?
I beg your pardon, Mr.
Yes.
Murray.
That's right.
Tell me, is this the
You want to get married?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's a nice young lady.
Yeah.
And here's a nice young man. Helps us so sehr.
Ich komme her, Sie zu helfen zu mir.
Hello.
I beg your pardon. Tell me, is this the Marriage Bureau Broker's office?
Yes, this is the Marriage Bureau Broker's office.
Mag ich wissen, mein Nummer?
Mein Nummer ist Peschke. Peschke, no Peschke.
Such ich doch
Pepsi Cola hinten.
Nein. Peschke.
So, sie sagen, wie ihr sagt, ich habe nicht gezahlt.
Sucht mal Peschke.
Ja.
Ihr wollt gewollt wären Mann Kaka.
Hebt je wieder mit mir.
Ihr wollt gewollt wären Mann Kaka.
Jinga Mann, ich will auch beten, ob mir wollen zwischen Menschen, sollt ihr mich nicht fragen, sie will wären ja Kaka. Sie doch haben diese Sache verbrochen zu machen, Jua.
Ist es ihr gefällt euch?
Aber ihr gefällt mir sehr stark.
Never gehit gewalt.
Ich hab noch ich will noch etwas fragen.
Go ahead, right.
Sag noch, ihr hicket allemal so.
Nein, no van ahead.
Ah, noch von der Rat.
Ist es hier gefällt?
Ja, ihr gefällt mir noch. Sag noch, von wo ist das gekommen, dass du das hicken?
Ich meint, sich das so.
Ja.
You see, ich bin geboren geworden.
Ja.
Als Kind bin ich geboren geworden mit einem Zingerl in Drößen.
Ja.
Ist zu der 8 Tag, pink zum Bris, hat mich das Sandig, der lang zum Mäul verkehrt. Es find damals fällt mir ein Stückerle Zitte. Find damals fällt mir ein Stückerle Zink.
Ja.
It's all right, ich darf nicht mehr rum. Der Doktor hat mir gesagt, sich hassen oben, kann es mal gut nicht schaffen.
Das ist da.
Und die Kinder oben erwarten nicht.
Ja, sehr fein.
Ist es ihr gefällt?
Ja, ihr gefällt mir. Ich will auch noch etwas fragen.
Go ahead.
Sag noch, ihr kennt mich alle eben für Erfolg.
Ja, warte, ihr darf nicht vergessen, ich bin sehr größer Papa.
Aber sind ihr?
Ich bin sehr größer Papa.
Auf Hafer?
Nein, ich bin sehr größer Verdiener.
Ja. Wo steht ihr?
Ist das hier gut nicht?
Wo ist?
Ich bin aber so in der Hospital.
In der Hospital?
Yes, hier. Ich habe gehabt an einer Operation.
An Operation? Oh, wo ist?
Ihr müsst es wissen.
Oh, wie will das erzählen?
You see, sein Dick in der Army.
Oh, hat sich aber getroffen, ein Bullet.
Nein, für eine Bullet kriegt man nicht das, was ich gehabt habe. Das, was ich gehabt habe, das kriegt man auf und trugen schwere Sachen. You know, like bombes for the cannons.
Oh, ihr habt sich aber die Inte gerissen in den Halsen.
Nein, ein bisschen niedriger. Eschkale, ich bin a Bucher mit a jeder Male. Eschkale, ich will, dass dieses werden jetzt man kann. Kaka, 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 Kaka. Lass mal schreiben Neuem.
Ich stell dir vor, du doch alle, wenn ich sitz mit dir beim Tisch. Die wirst mich beten, als ihr sollt lang in dir de Fit. Fit, 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 fit. Da lang mal schein der Lokschen.
Ich will mal tun, es kaufen dir Gesindheit, vernitzes. In Gold und Silber gehen bei mir, schwer bei meine Zitze, ich schwör beim alles Guten.
Oi, ich will mir die Kinder oben, die mir sein der Tate. Verbische, weil ich sich verdrum, auf der Welt seine Hicke warte.
Wir werden beide oben, die Kinder lang, wir Winterlach wird es sein. Die Mama, sie wird waschen wie Winterlach, wie die Kinderlach, schön und fein. Gott beten, als es so verglückung ist hier, die Kinder, sie sollen, dass sie feigen sich, Juten, sie sollen in der Mama rein. Ich will Tate, sollen sie sein. Wir werden beide oben, die Kinderlach, wie Winterlach wird es sein. Und wir werden beide oben, die Kinderlach, wie Winterlach wird es sein. Die Mama, sie wird waschen wie Winterlach, wie die Kinderlach, schön und fein. Gott beten, dass es so verglückung ist hier, die Kinder, sie sollen, dass sie feigen sich, Juten, sie sollen in der Mama rein. Ich will Tate.
Nein, was ist geschehen?
Ich habe sich verschärft.
Na, noch der Kassel, wirst du auch wieder verschappen?
Nein, noch der Kassel wird es bei mir gehen wie geschmiert.
Wir werden beide um, die Kinderlach, die Winterlach wird es sein.
So Luigi comes back from his honeymoon, and his friends say, Luigi, how was the honeymoon? He says, oh, it was okay. It probably could have been a little bit better. He says, what happened? He said, you know, I married my beautiful bride, Virginia. She's a good Italian cook, but we don't have that much money. So I figured make a nicer honeymoon trip, get on a train in New York, and it winds its way down to Florida. So she brings on board the train a nicer hero sandwich for me to eat. She brings a nicer bottle of vino. She brings a nicer cigar for me to smoke. And about 2 or 3 hours after the train starts to go down to Florida, I get a little hungry. So I unwrap a hero sandwich, and I take a bite. And the conductor says, Luigi, not here. Anything to be consumed on this train, you need to go to the dining car. I said, okay, that's the rules, and I'll have to live by them. So me and Virginia, we go to the dining car. I enjoy a nice hero sandwich. Then I want to make a toast to my beautiful bride. So I open up a vino. I start to pour the wine. And again, there's the conductor. He says, Luigi, not here. Any alcoholic beverages to be consumed on this train, you need to go to the bar car. I said, okay, that's the rule. So me and Virginia, we go to the bar car, make a nice toast to my beautiful bride. And so far, the honeymoon is pretty good. And then I start to light my cigar. And again, there's the conductor. He says, not here, Luigi. Anything to be smoked. On this train, you need to go to the smoking car. He says, man, I never saw a train with so many rules, but I like the cigar, and I enjoy a nice smoke. It's my honeymoon. So it's my wedding day. It's coming up into my wedding night. I figured me and Virginia would go back to the compartment that I have and have some romance. So me and Virginia would go back to the compartment. I lock at the door, just about ready to have some romance. And there's the goddamn conductor again outside the room. He says, Norfolk, Virginia. He says, next time I'm going to take it a bus.
Let's see all about your daughter. Very interesting.
She's a beautiful girl.
Okay, let me put her in the box with all the other single women. And then I'm going to get my box of eligible Bachram, and I think I've got the perfect boy. David Cohen. He has a punim on him. You just have to pinch those cheeks. He's so cute. And his family has a bissel of guilt. So here, you take his name, and I'm going to call the parents. Stay by the phone. I will call you back as soon as I hear anything.
Turn down for what? 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 Another round of shots. Bob it loud, another round of shots. Bob it loud, another round of shots. Bob it loud, another round of shots. Turn down for what?
Boy, listen, ladies, calm down. I really should have listened to my husband. My son just isn't ready to get married yet. Stop it! I told you, please, you've got to go to bed.
I wanna go to bed.
Gary Lassen has a motto.
In Stooge we trust.
Get out. Let him alone. Oh, man.
Gary loves the Three Stooges, which is why he's the president of the Three Stooges fan club and creator, curator, and chief stooge of the Stoogeum, which is both museum and fan club headquarters in Ambler, PA.
Anyone who's the slightest bit of a Stooge fan should come out here because we've got E Pluribus Stooge, which means lots of Stooges stuff.
Gary isn't on a half-wits holiday, to borrow a title from one of the Three Stooges' 190 short films. Rather, he's on a mission to share with the Stooge-going public his passion and 100,000-plus artifacts about the Three Stooges, Larry, Moe, and Curly, and their replacement Stooges, Shemp, Joe, and Curly Joe.
This is the mail-order gift catalog business. And this Stooge business is a lot more fun because I can do that to you.
Why don't you be quiet?
Yeah, well, I can do that.
Oh, yes. No.
I know the block.
All right.
I'm old enough.
I should have known not to try that on you.
Visitors who explore the Stoogeum's treasure trove can savor Three Stooges history, from their antic slapstick to their nonsensical dialogue.
Nyuk, nyuk,
Yeah,
nyuk.
just a little woo-woos and yuck-yucks.
What's the matter? You want to kill me?
Oh, an intelligent imbecile. Yeah, they had a lot of catchphrases that I find in my everyday life. You know, somebody cuts me out in line. It's Sabatucci. You know, I'm a victim of circumstance. Every day, every day.
There are those who look at the Stooges as inconsequential, silly, not to be taken seriously, and yet they have a great story to tell.
Well, they are inconsequential, they are silly, but that's what we love about them.
Gary not only fell in love with the Stooges, he fell in love and married Robin Feinberg, the grandniece of Larry Fine, the Philly-born Stooge with a wild and frizzy hair.
And so now you're part of the family of Larry Fine.
Oh, certainly. I don't do impersonations, and you just heard why.
Turns out Gary's a bigger fan of the Stooges than his wife.
She was always afraid of the Stooges as a little girl. They hit each other, they poked each other, and...
Ow! Ow, my nose!
It was very disconcerting to her, and when Uncle Larry would come to visit, she'd get very upset. They actually had to tell her it was Uncle Max coming.
Robin's grandfather, Moe Feinberg, Larry's brother, embraced Gary as the son he never had, who also shared his love for the comic threesome.
He really got me interested in them by showing me, a letter from Larry, a comic book, a record, some of the, few collectibles that he had. It really piqued my interest. And I collected the stuff in this building as if I was the Stooges' mother.
Which is why Gary created the mother of all Stooge museums.
Basically toys and games and posters and books and autographs and contracts and news clippings and everything else that there is.
Right.
Anything and everything Stooge.
These lifelike figures of the sappy sidekicks greet visitors as they enter the main gallery.
And now you had these made up for the Stoogeum.
Yes, these were specifically made for the Stoogeum from a black and white photograph from the film Idle Rumors. They're actually on a 1-inch pedestal, so they were actually about an inch shorter than this, but at 5'4", the actresses who were 5'5" and 5'6" towered over them with their heels on, and that's one thing that visitors are really struck by, how short they were. I like Curly because he's got the scar on his cheek, which of course makes it very realistic. Curly had a scar from a childhood injury. I call this the wall of faces, and we've got the various 6 different Stooges with various types of roles during their careers.
Every fan has a favorite Stooge, it seems. You like Curly? You got a whole section on the portly prankster.
If there's a poll, Curly gets more votes than all the others combined.
This is called Stoogeology 101. It's one of the interactive features here at the Stoogeum. You just give Curly the old Moe eye poke, and up comes the menu. And you can find out about Moe Howard's biography, Larry Fine, Curly, Shemp, Joe Besser, and Joe Dorita, and the guy who really started it all, Ted Healy.
I got a pinball machine and, things like that to try to draw people in and just get them engaged, especially the youngsters.
Hey, watch out!
It's got lots of everything.
Lots of everything.
And I've tried to organize it in some type of logical way. I keep, here's the records and here are the comic books. things like that. You know, here's the live appearance materials, here's the materials from these feature films.
Gary's also got a wall honoring the Stooges' supporting actors and actresses.
So the fans really have a soft spot for these supporting players. Even if they were only in 1 or 2 films, their roles were very memorable. And we spend a lot of time trying to track them down and trying to bring them to our conventions and whatever.
Visitors can also catch a Stooges short film in the comfort of the museum's 85-seat theater.
When we have our conventions and meetings, we do special shows in here and programs.
Since 1984, Gary's Stoogeum and his admiration for the ensemble have grown.
So when fans wrote to them, they didn't write back, "Thanks for your letter, love Mo." They wrote back 2- and 3-page handwritten letters.
Really?
When they went on the road for months at a time, if they were in a city for a week, it's absolutely 100% certain that one day they went to a children's hospital and visited the kids in the wards there. And no matter where they went, they took time out to do charity stuff.
The Stoogeum serves as a tribute to the Slap Happy Trio and a special place for their fans.
I wanted the real Stooges to be proud of it, but as for fans, I wanted it to be a place that a fan would want to have his ashes scattered over or be buried here, and hopefully I accomplished that.
There are fans who might consider the Stoogeum as the final jesting place, but above all, it's one man's way of keeping the legacy and laughter of this great comic threesome very much alive. For PBS 39 News Tonight, I'm Grover Silcox reporting.